Hello, hello. Welcome to today's webinar. This is our Wednesday webinar, home ownership and home buyer series that we put together to help answer a bunch of questions that buyers and sellers have in regards to real estate, how to purchase strategically, how to sell for a top dollar. Should I sell? Do I have equity in this home? All of the things. Every Wednesday, we get started promptly at 7 o'clock. We are going to go ahead and get started. Today's webinar is all about what happens after you leave the closing table. What happens after you leave the title company if you happen to close at a title company in Texas. So today we're going to bring you the steps after settlement, how to move in like a pro. You just left the closing table. What time is it? It's time to put into action all the things that you've been planning for with this new move, this new purchase. So, um, 9 o'clock. If y'all got it, y'all got it. So we are going to jump straight into what do you do next. So you've signed your papers, you've gotten your keys, you're officially a homeowner. So what is there to do now? I need you to hear me because the celebration is real and you've earned every bit of it, but the clock has just started. So there are things that need to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours to protect you legally and financially. Not next week, not after you unpack, now. So tonight we're going to walk you through everything in order, the first 24 hours, the first week, and beyond the home purchase. By the time we're done here today, we hope we have allowed you to develop a clear picture of exactly what to do and when and how to do it. If you have purchased a resale home, then this is going to be for you. New construction buyers, stay with me because we are going to get to you right after this. But before the movers unpack a single box, I want you to walk through that house one more time, top to bottom, every room. Between your final walk and the actual closing, things may have changed, right? Things can change. We want to document if that's the case. Sellers sometimes remove fixtures that weren't supposed to be taken. Walls may get dinged during the move out. Appliances get swapped out. Once you close, you own it, including any new problems. So you need to know what you're walking into before the furniture is sitting on top of it all. So pull out your phone and photograph every room, every corner, every appliance, every surface. That timestamp on those photos is your protection. If you need to file an insurance claim 6 months from now, that date stamped record shows exactly what your home looked like before you took possession. So check that every appliance in your contract is still there. If you're closing with the homegirls, we record the serial number, so you're going to check that as well. And then also, most home inspections in the report, they'll have the serial numbers for those appliances as well. So you're going to check every appliance in the contract to make sure it's still there. You'll look for new holes or stains in the wall. You're going to check under every sink for water damage. If something is wrong, you need to know before your couch is sitting on top of it. And so, like I said, all of these things, if you had a home inspection, will have been checked. But between the home inspection and the time that you take possession, there's some time that things could occur. And so we want to make sure that you're in the know. Now, for those of you who purchased new construction, your priorities are going to look a little different. There are two things that I need you to do before you leave the closing table. Make sure that you have the builder's after hours emergency number. So if you're closing with the homegirls, we're going to make sure you have that even before you get to the closing table. But we don't want you to wait. We want you to know who, what, where, when to call if your HVAC goes out on your first night, or if you discover water coming into your home. You need to know who to call at 10, 11, 12, right? Get that number and have it in writing. Secondly, your builder warranty started the moment that you signed your closing papers. The clock is already running. So anything that you do not document today, could be argued as damage that you caused later. Don't give the builder that opening. So walk every single room, open every cabinet, test every door and every window. Check every outlet. Again, if you've had a home inspection, that was already done, but things happen between the time the home was inspected and the time that you closed. So you're going to note paint drips, uneven grout, gaps in the trim, scratch floors, dents in the appliances, all of it. You'll be taking photos as you go to make sure, again, that it's timestamped. This documented list becomes your warranty punch list. Submit it to your builder in writing, not just with a phone call, because you will need to establish some type of paper trail. Now, let's talk utilities. We need to make sure that we have lights on at the new place, water on at the new place, gas on at the new place. I know that sounds like the least exciting part of moving into a new home, but hear me out and bear with me for a second. Utility setup is one of the most common oversights that I see from new homeowners. Don't assume that those utilities transfer automatically, because they don't. You have to make this happen, and timing matters. On resale homes and new construction homes, those utilities are handled differently. So I'm going to walk you through both. If you purchased a resale home, the utilities need to be in your name as of your closing date, not the day that you move in and not the day after your closing date. What the home girls try to do is negotiate to have the day of closing, the utilities are still on in the seller's name. We get it in writing, and we ask the listing agent for that seller to disconnect the utilities the day after closing. But we ask our buyers to have the utilities turned on the day of closing. Because here's what you need to know. It is the seller's responsibility to have those utilities on in that property when you do your final walk. They have to have it on, okay? So you want to make sure that you are scheduling that. If the seller canceled service on closing day and you've not set up your new service yet, you could arrive to a dark house with no water. Handle this before you ever get to the closing table. Again, the homegirls try to get that coordinated for you. In our area, Central Point is the distribution company. They own those physical lines, but you get to choose who your electric provider is. And you can go to the powertochoose.org to, look at all the different companies and what they offer, the rates and all that. Just know that the cheapest rate is not always the best deal. So you want to check contract length, cancellation fees, and reviews before you commit to a power company. And this surprises people. You want to book your internet and alarm installation as early as possible. That doesn't mean you want to schedule them for the day that you close, because things happen when you close, right? Sometimes you may be scheduled to close at 11 and it may not happen until 2, or you scheduled to close at 11, you close at 11, you start signing at 11, but you may not get the keys until 4. So you don't want the internet and alarm people to just be at the home and you don't have the keys, so you can't give them access. So I always try to tell my buyers to schedule alarm and internet, anything that someone has to come to the house to do, schedule it at least no sooner than the day after closing. Nothing sooner than that. The day of closing is just too much of a nightmare. It's too much to try to, coordinate. And it's just too stressful. Closing day is already stressful enough. Book those early so you can get on the schedule. If you wait to book these until moving week, you could be without internet for a while. New construction, your utility situation is going to be a little different. During your build, the builder has temporary utility accounts set up for construction of the home. But at some point, after the home is ready and you're signing, those utilities need to be converted into your name. So they typically will give you a grace period of 48 to 72 hours to get those things switched over in your name. So they'll tell us at contract on a new construction home, you have X amount of days to switch all the utilities over in your name. And if they don't tell us, we ask and we write it down. We don't want you to be at home chilling and you discover, I forgot to transfer the lights and all that in my name, and now you're without, no lights, no water, no gas. That's not cool. builders will give us a list of the utility providers that service that community. We'll make sure that you get that information as well. In terms of starting your electrical and gas services, getting those switched out of the builder's name and into your name, beyond a phone call, not much else is required to go ahead and start that. So you can do that before closing, and you can just tell them the closing date and the date that you want to start services. However, in Brazoria County, the water services are going to work a little bit differently because you're going to need your closing disclosure before you're able to get the water services connected in your name. So you can either visit the company online and upload that information, that document, after you've signed at the title company for your new home, or you can visit the office and show them a copy of this, and that way they can go ahead and get your services for your water started. Now, let's talk about mud districts. Okay. So, mud districts are municipal utility districts, and it's something very specific to our area. So I want to make sure you understand what it is you need to understand about MUDs. A MUD is a special purpose district created by the state of Texas to provide water, sewer, and drainage services to our areas outside of the city limits. If you purchased in Rosharon and or most of the surrounding Brazoria County communities, you are almost certainly in a MUD district. All right. And what catches people off guard is the mud tax is completely separate from the property tax. So we're going to make sure, the homegirls, if you're using us as your realtor, that that is all escrowed, that there are no surprises later on. If your mortgage has an escrow account, we'll make sure that they have all of the tax bills so that they understand what your true taxes are. We're going to always verify that. Now, I want to walk you through security. I want you to really hear this part because it's very important. And right now, you don't know who has access to your home, whether you're purchasing a new construction home or a resale. And so, previous owners, their contractors, real estate agents, neighbors that they trust, all of those people, multiple people may have had access to that property. And until you rekey those locks, it's not truly your safe home yet. You want to make sure that you are getting those locks changed because, again, we want to make sure that you are the only one who has access to that home. So it's crucial to get the rekeying in place, even if it is a new construction home, because again, you just do not know who has access or has had access to that place. You're also going to set up the home security system as soon as you can. There are popular options, ADT, Blink, Simply Safe, all of those things offer great coverage, but you want to just make sure you're keeping your budget in mind because you just bought a house. Make sure that you are looking at different providers to see who you decide to go with. And also, most of the new construction homes come with a package to where the security is included for a certain price. Right. So, sure. Huh? Say again? Shellery?
Accident.
Oh, okay. All right. And then for lighting, because lighting is so essential to security, you want to make sure that you have some exterior lighting. Good lighting deters potential intruders and it just improves the overall safety of your new home. So make sure that you rekey immediately. Make sure if you're moving to a community that has an access gate, has access to a gym or anything that you need access to, make sure that you're getting those codes when you pick up your keys from the salesperson. And again, the homegirls try to coordinate as much of that as possible. All right, home warranties. Now, home warranties can be very tricky and hard to understand, okay, especially on resale homes. So sometimes on a resale home, a seller will provide a home warranty just to make their home more marketable. And so they typically cover major systems and appliances for 1 year. And the trick is you want to make sure that you register immediately to ensure that your coverage begins as soon as you close. You don't want to wait. So make sure that you're going through that home to verify everything in that home that needs to be transferred, whether it's a warranty for a foundation, a generator, windows, water heater, appliances, whatever. You want to just make sure that you have those warranties in place and that you've spoken to the companies to make sure that those warranties are in place. On new construction homes, they're more comprehensive most times. So again, when you move into a new construction home, all of the appliances will have some sort of warranty. So you'll need to call the manufacturer of your refrigerator, washer, dryer, stove, HVAC, furnace, register those appliances in your name. And then as you have maintenance done on these things, keep a log of that activity as well. But you have to make sure you register all of your appliances. If something happens, if something goes out, I'm telling you, they could get away with saying, well, you never registered. And it sounds sucky, but it's a little crack they can slip through. Okay. So we want to make sure you're covered by making sure that you're registering all of your appliances so that you can have those warranties in place. I know this probably feels like a small detail, but missing these details can create real problems for you. Missed bills, delayed tax documents, gaps in insurance coverage, all the things. So you want to make sure that you're going to USPS.gov, I think, or USPS.com. I'm not really sure, is one of them, and submit your change of address form. It's typically like $1 or $1.10, and they charge you that just to verify your identity. That's normal. It's not a scam, but this forwards your first class mail for up to 12 months. And you want to do this at least 2 weeks before your closing date. And doing it at least 2 weeks before closing date, you're going to put on the computer, you're going to say, what date do you want to start this? And you're going to put the day that you close, because you don't want to move from your current place. You're in your new place, but you still have bills going to your old place because, yes, you put in for your mail forwarding, but it takes a minute for that to get back to your creditors and get in their system. So do it about 2 weeks in advance and put the date that you want this to start. Always do your closing date or a couple days before your closing date. And then you want to make sure that you log into every financial account and update your address for your bank, your checking account, your savings account, credit cards, investment accounts, retirement accounts, all the things. Because an outdated address can flag fraudulent activity. It can deliver fraud alerts and delay important statements at the worst time. So you want to make sure that you are logging in to change those dates. Now, if you have school-age children, you want to contact the school district right away. In Texas, enrollment requires proof of residency. So your closing docs or utility bill in your name would suffice in getting those kids registered. You don't want to wait until the school week starts or a couple days or a week before the school week starts to do that. A lot of times they'll have registration days for different grade levels. And so make sure you're paying attention and watching that school website to find that out. And then don't forget to let your HR department know about your new address as well, so you can get your W-2s delivered to you at the right place when it comes down to tax time. Update your direct deposit records and any employee benefits tied to your address. And notify every insurance company, auto, health, life, and homeowners. All right, so homeowners insurance, what you need to know. So you purchased your homeowners insurance before closing, but I want to make sure that you actually understand what you have possession of, because a lot of homeowners don't find out what their policy covers until they need to use it. So you want to review your policy right after closing. Now, hopefully you've reviewed this with your insurance agent, but now you know you're a little bit more relaxed. You can understand things a little bit better. You can take it all in because you have gotten the signing part out of the way. And so now you can just really focus on other things. So reviewing that policy right after closing to confirm your dwelling coverage is key. Okay, you want to make sure that that coverage is enough to actually rebuild your home if it were to be destroyed. Now, this number is based on the cost to rebuild your home, not what you paid for the house. And with construction costs soaring nowadays, those numbers can be different. So you want to make sure that it is the coverage to rebuild your home. Now, here is what your standard homeowner's policy does not cover, and it's critical in our area: flood damage. Flood insurance is completely separate from homeowners insurance, all right? And it has to be purchased through FEMA's program or a private carrier. You cannot bundle it with your homeowner's insurance. And you want to know your home's flood zone designation. So it's either going to be to be out of a flood zone, it's going to be X something, X 100, X 500, right? Or just X. If you're in an A or AE, that means you are in a flood designated area. If you're in an X flood zone, it means that you're not in a designated flood zone. So if it's an X 100, it means, there's a chance of a flood every 100 years. If you're in an X 500 flood zone, there's a chance of a flood every 500 years. Make sure that you are having that conversation about flood insurance, even if you don't need it. Now, when you don't need it, it's actually cheaper. Okay. When you need it, if you're in a designated flood zone, that's where it could be a little bit tricky in terms of the expense of it. But when you don't need it, when you aren't in a designated flood zone, is when it's cheaper. So you want to know your home's flood zone designation. You can look it up on the flood map, and then we can also give us a call. We can help you look that up as well. We can help you find it. If your home is outside a high risk flood zone, again, like I said, it can still flood. Some of the worst flooding situations that I've seen have been in areas that weren't required to carry flood insurance. It's not fun. And a flood in your home is already not fun, but a flood in your home when you don't have flood insurance is terrible. Okay. Ask me how I know. So, depending on where you are in Brazoria County, you may also need a separate windstorm policy through the Texas Windstorm Insurance Association, known as TWIA. Now, in the Brazoria County, because we're so close to the coast, we have a lot of high wind events. And a lot of the times that means a lot of roofs get destroyed or damaged, and so because of that you have to have a windstorm insurance policy as well. And you want to make sure that you know how to file a claim before you ever need to. So document everything. Like I said, on the day that you're moving into your home, go through your home, record everything while it is bare, while it is empty. Okay. Record every room. And then once you get your things in there, you want to go ahead and record it again with all of your things in the right place. And you want to have this live in the cloud. I always tell people right before, the news will tell us, oh, a storm is coming, a storm is coming. So right before, I'll tell people, don't forget, record your home, because you could have been in your home, moved in your home October 2025, and here it is June, July, right? We're in hurricane season. Maybe a lot of things change in your home. Maybe you got the flooring done or whatever. You want to do it right before a storm. If you remember, while you're doing all that prep, record your home as well, so you can get more recent pictures. You can capture those images if you need it for insurance. So you want to make sure that you familiarize yourself with how to submit claims and contact your insurer immediately after any event. Don't make permanent repairs before the adjuster sees the damage. Now, you can do temporary repairs so that you stop further damage. That's fine, but don't make permanent repairs, and photograph everything before and after. Your first week is not just for unpacking boxes, it's for learning your home. A lot of what we're about to get into, you've already, talked about it with your home inspector if you had your home inspected. But now that you're in your home yourself, you get to familiarize yourself with your home. So we're going to do it again. So the first week, we are learning our home. You're going to find out again where your main water shutoff valve is. Make sure everyone in your home knows where that is, because you could be the only one that knows. Something could be leaking in your home and you're out of town, or you're at work, or you're across town. Everyone in your home should know that. So know where that is, know where your breaker control are, where the panel is. Know it should already be labeled with what breaker controls what room. If not, make it plain, make it simple. Know whether your GFCI outlets are working or not. Again, if you have had an inspection, that should already be done. But this knowledge could save you in an emergency. Okay, so I want to make sure you know that. A few hours of checking these systems can prevent thousands of dollars in repair down the road. If you're in a new construction home and still inside that builder warranty window, treat your first week as a mini home inspection. Anything you find, you want to document and you want to submit it. You don't want to let anything slide. They're going to fix those things that you find. Okay. So first, you want to test your GFCI outlets. Again, that was done in the inspection, but the inspector did it. You want to make sure you're doing it as well. If you have a good home inspector, a reputable home inspector come out and they didn't tell you that this plug wasn't working, this GFCI wasn't working, call them and let them know, hey, y'all inspected my home. I've closed on the home. Now I'm in the home and this doesn't work. They carry insurance and they'll get an electrician out there to fix those things. So one of the things for you to know, you're going to have GFCIs in most cases in all of your wet areas. And so that prevents anyone from getting electrocuted. So make sure that you are aware of where those GFCI reset buttons are, because if there's a storm and something is thrown off, maybe your refrigerator in the garage is connected to an outlet that has a GFCI on it. You need to know where that reset is because you don't want that food in that garage refrigerator to spoil. Secondly, you want to look under every sink, every bathroom, in the kitchen, the laundry room. Look for watermarks, soft or swollen cabinet floors, or any active drips. A slow leak doesn't cost too much to repair early on, but if it's left untreated, now you have issues with possible mold, structural damage, and the repair bill grows. So make sure you're doing that. And then you want to replace your filters. If you're in a resale home, you want to make sure you get those filters replaced. Again, a home inspector is going to tell you if it was dirty, and we'll put it in the report to be changed. But when you replace those filters, you know the date that the clock starts on those filters, because you want to change them every 30 to 60 days in the peak season, right? So when your allergies are acting a fool, you want to change those filters more often. If you're in a new construction home and the filters were dirty during the home inspection, you want to make sure that you are asking them to replace those as well. You also want to walk around the home periodically to make sure that the ground slopes away from the foundation. If soil or mulch is built up against the foundation, this is especially important in new construction where the grading can settle after you move in. So make sure you're doing that. Then you want to open and close every single window, every single door, making sure it's operated properly. Again, you're basically doing another inspection on your home, but you're doing it. The inspector did it first. Now you are doing it. Turn on every faucet, every toilet you want to flush, run every shower to make sure that there's not any slow drains, low pressure, or discoloration. 3 systems that you need to get in place in your first week. Because in Texas, all of them matter more than you would think. The HVAC. So you want to schedule a professional inspection in your first week if you're purchasing a resale. If it's in the summertime, you want to get that service, and every year you want to have it serviced. Okay. For new construction, your ducts can be full of construction dust and debris. A technician is going to check the refrigerant levels, inspect the air handler, clean the coils. You can make sure that your HVAC system is running properly if you do the maintenance, and you can control the price. If you never service it, it's probably going to go out, or it's probably going to be a lot more expensive because it's starting to act up and you did not give it the maintenance that it needed. Also, pest control. Texas's warm climate means year-round pest pressure like fire ants, roaches, termites, spiders, rodents, all of it, you name it. Okay. You don't want to wait until you see a problem. So establish some type of pest control service immediately and ask them about termite protection, because termite damage is also not covered by your homeowner's insurance. And then your lawn and irrigation. Make sure that if you have an irrigation system, to confirm that the heads aren't pointed in the wrong way. It's no point in watering the sidewalk. You need it on your grass. And in a lot of the newer communities, they already have the sprinkler system set up, the irrigation system set up, but you just want to make sure that you know how it works, that the zones are working properly. And then when you start winterizing, turn that system off and drain the water. All right. Okay. Now, this slide is some of the highest value information. If you don't take anything else from tonight, take this. These are all Texas specific things that every homeowner in this state needs to know. And a lot of people find out about it way too late. So, number one, and I want to stress this, file your freaking homestead exemption. This is the single most important financial move that you can make as a new Texas homeowner. Okay. Now, you're going to go to the appraisal district and you're going to file your homestead exemption. You have to have your driver's license showing the new address of the property that you want the homestead exemption for. That's the only prerequisite, is to make sure that the address shows on your driver's license. You don't have to wait until you get that driver's license. You can use a little paper copy, but make sure that you're filing that. And that's going to save you a lot of money. Also, you don't have to worry about, oh, I need my deed. I need my deed. Your deed was recorded with the county clerk at closing by the title company. So you don't need the original document to prove that you own the home. It's a matter of public record. And every single year, we're going to do this. I think this is next week. Yeah. Every single year, protest your appraised value. Protest those property taxes. Okay. The deadline for us is May 15th, or 30 days after you receive your notice. But you want to do that. You can do it yourself, or you can use a service that only gets paid if you save money. But again, next week we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to walk you through it. And so you'll be able to do it on your own and keep money in your pocket. 2 financial housekeeping items that need to happen immediately. As soon as you move in, you want to set up auto pay on your mortgage. And keep in mind that your mortgage is typically not due until 30 to 45 days after you close. All right. So you want to set up that mortgage on auto pay. And I always suggest that every 2 to 3 years, you call around to shop around for homeowners insurance. Make sure that when you're asking other insurance companies to get other quotes, that you're giving them like for like, meaning if you're giving them the contents at a certain amount, make sure that's what you have in your old. Make sure it's apples to apples, right? If you are telling them, I want my deductible to change from 2% and I want it to be 5%, make sure you're telling them the same thing so you can get a good number. But doing that every 2 to 3 years will save you some money. And then you want to make sure that you are storing all of your closing documents in a fireproof, waterproof safe, in addition to getting them scanned and uploaded to the cloud. All right. And then making sure that you are building a maintenance fund for the home so that when things come up that need maintenance, things are getting done. All right. Now, on the actual moving day, you want to make sure that you call the moving company at least 48 hours before moving to confirm the arrival time, truck size, the number of movers, and the estimated cost. Make sure you have all those things in writing. Tell them that you want your beds and bathroom areas to be taken care of first. Take those first, because after a long day of closing and moving, you want to be able to lay down in your bed or at least on your mattress. So do that. Also, to protect your home, consider using floor runners, canvas drop cloths, furniture sliders, foam corner guards, all of those things to protect your floors, to protect your furniture. I want to make sure that I end with the most common mistakes that I see homeowners make, because every single one of these can be avoidable and every single one of these has a real consequence. So ignoring the loan service or change notice. When you get that notice, I have one here. It says, your loan has been sold to, you can call the old company to make sure it's not a scam. Say, who did you sell my loan to? And they'll tell you, and they'll give you the number, and you can call and give them your social and say, you guys, I wanted to double check that you guys actually have my loan now. They'll say yes. Two is missing the homestead exemption. File it. Okay. If you miss the deadline, it could cost you money. And then three, when you're renovating your home, check with your HOA if you're doing anything outside your home. Okay. So if you're going to paint the door, put up a fence, or add anything on the exterior, read your HOA documents and get written approval from the ARC, the Architectural Review Committee. Skipping this step could mean fines. So make sure that you are getting HOA involved for anything that you're doing outside your home. 4, not rekeying your locks. We already covered this, but again, rekey those locks the day that you move in. 5, skipping your 10-month warranty inspection. So it says 11 here, but I say start at 10. It probably won't happen to month 11. At month 10, start thinking about on new construction homes. You know what? I got that 1-year warranty with my builder. Let me go ahead and get the inspector scheduled so that I can get the report, so I can send the report to the builder so they can get me on schedule. That'll take a couple weeks, so you're probably in month 11 if you start at month 10. And 6, letting your homeowner's insurance lapse. Your mortgage required it to close, but keeping it active is your responsibility. And then I want you to know that you can contact us for all of your real estate related questions and or needs. You don't have to wait just on Wednesdays to ask any questions. We're always here. Our phone number and all that is right here for you to contact us, and we'll get back with you. If you have a friend or family member or coworker that's thinking about buying or selling land or a home or a townhome, please tell them we got this Wednesday webinar series that happens at 7 o'clock every Wednesday, and they'll answer your questions and help you with your real estate questions. So that's what we try to be, a resource to help people, because real estate can be tricky, and so we should all have the ability to ask questions before we jump into it. So, do you guys have any questions? Any questions? I'm looking. I don't see anything. All right. So, for all of your real estate needs, we want to remind you that we are your homegirls, myself and AJ. She's not here, but at some point she's going to show her face. We'll figure it out. But we want to remind you guys that we are always ready and willing to enable you to find your way home. Until next Wednesday, bye-bye.
We've already covered so much, but we have so many other topics to tackle. Here are just a few of the topics coming up in our future Wednesday webinars. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and make sure you subscribe to the channel.
My bed, taking a moment to rest, feeling stressed out, give it a good.
If you've missed any of our past Wednesday webinars, we have a playlist right here dedicated to all things Wednesday webinar. Click to get started.
Take away.